We are discussing some more variables and some of my preferences when we hit the 25-yard shot. I'm Ryan Dailey, PGA professional and co-founder of Operation 36 Golf, and I have spent my entire career trying to figure out what can help a player get better at the game and not get worse. So please trust me as we go through these, as we have tested these ideas and these strategies, not only here where we started in North Carolina, but also at the 800 facilities and over 2,000 coaches around the world that use this. So it's interesting for me to observe players in different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and you see a lot of similar errors that are made, maybe in not only what's instructed to the player from a coach, but also what the player's trying to do. So last week we talked about having the handle slightly forward, which is really important to help us when we're hitting this shot. We talked about the stance width being a little bit narrower. This week we're going to talk about alignment. And this is actually in our curriculum in level 1 alignment in Op 36, meaning how do we get the ball to start where we're trying to go? And that has to do with where our club face is pointed at impact. And we're specifically going to talk about setup today. And again, where do these grooves point? So I've got the foresight out here to help us on pushes and pulls. We'll also have the camera move a little bit today to help us with that. But I'm going to put this cone out just a few feet. So when the camera goes behind us, you can actually see where the ball starts. So let me put this out here. And I'm going to attach an alignment tool to the face. I'm going to put it about on the fourth or fifth groove. And if we can pan the camera around this way, what this does is this is going to help us see where does the loft point. So one of the errors that I see that I would take a peek at if I was playing is, where do I have the handle height when I'm playing? I see a lot of players err by having the handle too low, and you can see that that points to the left. And if you return the club to that position, the ball's going to start left. What I'm going to encourage you to do when you set up is set up with the handle a little bit higher, such that it points maybe at your belt buckle, and then address it. And then the face is going to point a little bit closer to where you're trying to go. So let me show you just a few shots so you can see how this works. If you were to set up and have the handle low, and then you were to return it, you can see the ball starts left, 4.9 degrees left on that one. Is it on the green? Yes. But if we're trying to get better at starting the ball where we want it to start, maybe a better idea is to get the handle a little bit more neutral, so it's pointing at your belt line. And then when you return it, try to return it to that same spot. So I'll try to do my best job at that. And that was pretty close. Foresight read it was just a couple degrees to the right, which I'm okay with. If I do miss, this is an elevated green, I would rather have a slight push to the right because the loft will be higher and help the ball go a little bit higher. All right, let's talk a little bit about a technical piece that's really important, and that's that left wrist. So if we're going to have the handle high at setup, or what feels like high, our left wrist has a little bit of bend to it when we set up. Our goal when we hit this shot is to keep that left wrist in a similar position. We don't want to flop it around when we're hitting the shot. If we're flopping our wrist around, our left wrist in this case, that will change where the face points. And if you look at this alignment tool again, it's pretty incredible. If you were to just take your wrist and turn it a little bit, your left wrist, how drastically that changes where the face points. And you don't want a lot of deviation when you're hitting this small of a shot. Let me clean the face a little bit. So what I'm trying to feel on this shot is that my left wrist stays pretty similar through the shot. I don't want my wrist flopping around like that. If I hit this incorrectly and I let my wrist flop around, that one was decent, but it started left, 3.3. It was very hard for me to control the face when my wrist is moving that much in a little shot. So let me show you what I believe is a little bit more efficient way to do it. I'm going to set the handle such that the butt of the club points at my belt buckle. I'm trying to hit the shot with my left wrist being as constant as I can. It's not moving a lot. And you can see the ball pop up with a lot of loft. That was 1 degree to the right. Again, if you want to miss on this shot, I would miss with the face a fraction to the right. Why? Because that gives you more loft on the shot to get it higher up in the air. This is a great demonstration today at 25 yards with an elevated green. And I see a lot of folks when they have elevated greens and the handle is low and they're changing their wrists all the time in this shot, how they really struggle getting the ball to stop on the green. So they have the handle low, changing their wrist conditions. I would not do that. If I was advising you on practicing this, I would first find a flat area, maybe your kitchen floor or some concrete somewhere, and get really good at laying the club flat on the ground. So the toe isn't up in the air when you're setting up. You get really good at putting the club flat on the ground. That might feel very uncomfortable at first, but I always say, as I say to my kids, choose your hard. So is this going to be hard having the handle higher than normal? Yeah. But if you have the handle low and you hit it to the left, that's hard too. So choose your hard. I would say get used to having the handle a little bit higher than normal, less wrist action, less deviation in the left wrist, and it's a lot easier to hit shots that go somewhat near your target with a little bit of loft. I hope that was helpful for you. If you're an Op 36 from 25 yards away and you need even more help, I would find your local coach to give you a little bit more detail. But hopefully those first few sessions that we talked about with the handle being slightly forward, narrow stance, and then today we started to address handle height, which is very important, and then also how much we move our wrist, specifically our left wrist, not a lot, in this basic standard 25-yard shot that might carry about 20 yards.